I am Crispin Deverne. I am Program Director for Climate and Disaster Resilience at the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, or OECS, which is an 11-member grouping of island states dedicated to regional integration and cooperation. And I'm planning to talk today about the whole idea of the vulnerability of our critical port infrastructure in island states and certainly in the Eastern Caribbean. Now, in 2015-16, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, led an assessment of ports in island states in the Caribbean. And one of the case studies was done for St. Lucia. It showed that our ports were vulnerable to climate change, to sea level rise, among others, extreme events, flooding, and so on. Now, obviously, seaports, being by virtue of their location, are vulnerable to sea level rise. But it turns out that our airports are also vulnerable because out of our 25 thereabouts airports and 25 seaports, roughly, in the Eastern Caribbean, that's 11 member states, most of the airports are also located at sea level and close to the coast. And so one of them, for example, in St. Lucia, where I'm from, one of the two airports, the main international airport, is going to lose about 150 meters of runway by 2100 thereabouts. And so that's the kind of impact we're talking about. We experienced in 2017 3 Category 5 hurricanes within a space of a week or two. And in the situation of Dominica, just to give Dominica as an example, people having their homes destroyed, their businesses destroyed, they were unable to leave Dominica for days on end because the ports were wrecked. Both the airports and seaports were either destroyed or severely damaged by wave action, storm surge, or by flooding. The airport was unusable because it's covered with silt from nearby rivers as well as from the hinterland. So these are the kind of impacts that we are facing. And as you heard from previous speakers, our airports and seaports, they are our connection to the world. We don't have the benefit of having, supplies brought in from overland from another country. We don't have that, not in a continental situation. We're dealing with, these isolated countries who rely on ports for air and seaports for movement of people, movement of goods, and so on. And of course, we are heavily dependent on tourism, as you heard earlier. So these assets, these critical assets, we have to do something to ensure that that they are fit for purpose no matter what happens. And so looking at some of the impacts we've already experienced, I think for us it is critical that we begin to expand the work that was done by UNCTAD, do assessments for more countries, for more islands on an individual basis. So if we can get the projections, say, for Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, and so on. So the planners who are planning the expansion or the upgrading of their ports can make the right judgments and decide, what kind of adjustments need to be made so that these ports can withstand the intensified hurricanes, intensifying floods, and so on. So having access to the kind of data and information which is needed for planning is critical. But more than that, we also need to do the planning on a not just looking at the ports individually, but on a network basis, because it is not uncommon for one weather event to knock out 2 or 3 countries overnight. So you can have, or within one hurricane, that is, one system, to knock out more than one country. Okay, so you can get a hurricane moving from St. Lucia, then hitting Martinique or Dominica higher up the chain as it goes along. And so where you thought you were going to get your relief supplies from, or move people to, it's also been compromised, so you can't move. Okay. We also have the reality that if a Miami is hit, and Miami is one of our main supply ports, right, for transshipment into the region, if that's hit, okay, and then we're in an even more dire situation. So in fulfilling, for example, one of the mandates of our climate change adaptation strategy and action plan, we need to have that data and information ready. We need to look at the networks and look at it from a networking basis, and we need to build capacity to ensure that our planners, our port managers, and so on are trained to manage ports in a changing world, to planning for a changing world, and also to make sure that our ports are run in a way where they don't compromise the ecosystems which help to protect them. Thanks.
I know we have run out of time, and Crispin has said it all. Thank you very much. Just maybe to add, we've been working for many years. There's a time lag. We've been working for very many years on issues related to that, and we've done this with a lot of international organizations, regional partners, scientists, universities, and industry, and we hope to continue that. There's an increasing urgency of action because a lot of, as Crispin explained, a lot of critical coastal transport infrastructure assets in small island developing states are at high and growing risk from as early as 2030, so it's no time to lose. I will leave it here because I do know we have run out of time. Thank you very much indeed. Goodbye.